Yashodanandana Brajajana Yashodanandana Brajajana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunateva Yamunateva Jayarada Madhava Uddhavihar Upi Janavara Pirivara Upi Janavara Pirivara Yasodhanandana Bhattacharya Yasodhanandana Bhattacharya Yasodhanandana Bhattacharya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Raja, Jaya Raja, Mandava, Jaya Raja, Mandava, Jaya Pranja Jaya Jaya Pranja Jaya Pranja Jaya 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 Pranja Jaya Pranja Jaya Pranja Jaya 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 Gauranga 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 Jaya Gauranga Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Slow of the past systematic of divine grace is confounded. Sorry. Sheila Abacha and Abin the Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj. Okay. Jai Om Vishnu Paramahamsa. Paribraja Kacharya. As taught us about systematic divine grace. Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj. Okay. Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin. Okay. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur. Friends, Kahal, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Sri Vasari, Sri Gaura Bhakti, Sri Radha Krishna, Gopal, Gopinath, Syama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giripatam, Vrindavan Dham, Mathura Dham, Simaya Panavada Dham, Jagannathpur Dham, Gangamaya Yamunamaya, Simati Tulsa Devi Bhakti Devi Ki, Sama Veda Bhakti Vinda Ki, Nitai Lord Premanandi. Our glory is to the sum of the waters. Our glory is to the sum of the waters. Glory is to the sum of the waters. Glory is all glories to the Gauranga Goranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pranam Cheva Narotama Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tanto Jayo Mira Asa Vaidesh Bhavesh Yan Bhagavata Bhagavati Dhammas Ekavachinaishtiki. So Srimad Bhagwatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 19. title of this chapter is Pure Devotional Service. Shavid Varahostrakare Samstuta Purusa Pasu Nayakana Patu Petu Jatunama Gadagrajaha Swavidvara Hostrakare Samstuta Purusa Pasu Nayakana Patu Petu Jatunama Gadagrajaha. Someone try? Nandji? So word for word translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Acharya Srila Abhachan Vina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj page. Srila Prabhupada page. Swa, a dog, bit Varaha, the village hog who eats stool. Ustra, the camel, Kare, and by the asses, Sams Taha, perfectly praised. Guru Saha, the person. Pasu, animal. Na, never. Yat, of him. Karna, ear. Pata, heart. Petaha, reached. Jatu, at any time. Nama, the holy name. Gada, Grajaha, or Krishna, the deliverer from all evils. Translation, please kindly respond to repeat. Men who are like hogs, men who are hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, the deliverer from evils. Applause. The general mass of people, unless they are trained systematically for higher standard of life in spiritual values, are no better than animals. And in this verse, they have particularly been put on the level of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Modern university education practically prepares one to acquire a doggish mentality with which to accept the service of a greater master. After finishing so-called education, the so-called educated persons, more like dogs, from door to door with applications for some service. And mostly they are driven away, informed of no vacancy. As dogs are negligible animals and serve the master faithfully for bits of bread. A man serves the master faithfully without sufficient rewards. Persons who have no discrimination in the matter of foodstuff and who eat all sorts of rubbish are compared to hogs. Hogs are very much attached to eating stools. So stool is a kind of foodstuff for a particular type of animal. And even stones are edibles for a particular type of animal or bird. But the human being is not meant for eating everything and anything. He is meant to eat grains, vegetables, fruits, milk, sugar, etc. Animal food is not meant for human being, for the human being. For, for chewing solid food, the human being has a particular type of teeth meant for cutting fruits and vegetables. The human being is endowed with two canine teeth as a concession for persons who will eat animal food at any cost. It is known to everyone that one man's food is another man's poison. Human beings are expected to accept the remnants of food offered to Lord Sri Krishna. And the Lord accepts foodstuffs from the categories of leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. Bhagavad Gita 9:26, which states Patan Puspam Phalam Toyan, Yomi Bhakti. So, what is as prescribed by Vedic scriptures, no animal, no animal food is offered to the Lord. Therefore, a human being is meant to eat a particular type of food. He should not imitate the animals to derive so-called vitamin values. Therefore, a person who has no discrimination in regard to eating is compared to a hog. Pretty long purport. The camel is a kind of animal that takes pleasure in eating thorns. A person who wants to enjoy family life or the worldly life of so-called enjoyment is compared to the camel. Materialistic life is full of thorns, and so one should live only by the prescribed method of Vedic regulations, just to make the best use of a bad bargain. Life in the material world is maintained by sucking one's own blood. The central point of attraction for material enjoyment is sex life. To enjoy sex life is to suck one's own blood. And there is not much more to be explained in this connection. The camel also sucks its own blood while chewing thorny twigs. The thorns the camel eats cut the tongue of the camel, and so blood begins to flow between the camel's mouth, within the camel's mouth. The thorns mixed with fresh blood create a taste for the foolish camel, and so he enjoys the thorn eating business with false pleasure. Similarly, the great business magnates, industrialists, who work very hard to earn money by different ways and questionable means, eat the thorny results of their actions mixed with their own blood. Therefore, the Bhagwatam has stated, as the Bhagwatam has situated these diseased fellows along with the camels. The ass is an animal who is celebrated as the greatest fool. Even amongst the animals, the ass works very hard and carries burdens of the maximum weight without making profit for itself. The ass is generally engaged by the washermen whose social position is not very respectable. And the special qualification of the ass is that it is very much accustomed to being kicked by the opposite sex. When the ass begs for sexual intercourse, he is kicked by the fair sex. Yet he still follows the female for such sexual pleasure. A henpecked man is compared, therefore, to the ass. The general mass of people work very hard, especially in the age of Kali. In this age, the human being is actually engaged in the work of an ass, carrying heavy burdens and driving Taylor and rickshaws. What is Taylor? Huh? Oh, okay. The so-called advancement of human civilization has engaged a human being in the work of an ass. The laborers in great factories and workshops are also engaged in such burdensome work. And after working hard during the day, the poor laborer has to be again kicked by the fair sex, not only for sex enjoyment, but also for so many household affairs. So Srimad Bhagwatam's categorization of the common man without any spiritual enlightenment into the society of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses is not at all an exaggeration. The leaders of such ignorant masses of people may feel very proud of being adored by such a number of dogs and hogs, but that is very flattering. The Bhagavatam openly declares that although a person may be a great leader of such dogs and hogs, distinguished as man, if he has no taste for being enlightened in the science of Krishna, such a leader is also an animal and not a man. He may be designated as a powerful, strong animal or a big animal, but in the estimation of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is never given a place in the category of man on account of his atheistic temperament. Or, in other words, such godless leaders of dogs and hog-like men are bigger animals with the qualities of animals in great proportion. This is a heavy pulpit. Om Gyana Timilanasya, so Chaitanya Manoro Stan, and Rupam Kadamaya. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and Anasya Buddha died was one to Chaitanya Chanta. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Jaya Ram Vishnu Padaya Krishna Jaya Sri Madhe Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati Everything. Panchakalpatari Jaja because Krishna. So, this is an interesting text. It's very relevant to what is transpiring in modern day society. You can relate with it. There's nothing abstract there. This is what is going on. Yeah. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, as is praised those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils, God Gaja. So essentially, this text is enlightening us that the fundamental difference between a civilized human being and an uncivilized human being is that the uncivilized human being means someone who is not inclined or not practicing or doesn't want to participate in Krishna consciousness activities. That is unfortunate. The majority of the population are of that category. So Prabhupada is not just lashing out or exaggerating. This is discernible. This is observable. You don't need to conduct any research. You just look around and you see this is what is going on. Ahara Nidra Vaya Punamsha. Samaya Nidra Ubinara Dama Hite Sha Monica Visage Karmena Hina Pasadisuma. The difference, this verse from the Mahabharata is reinforcing this text. The difference. Animals, they are also, like Prabhupada mentioned, they're eating, sleeping, having sex, fighting. In fact, animals have better fighting technology even without nuclear weapons. If you want to go and fight with a lion, you need a gun, but the lion doesn't really need a gun. He will just attack you, and it's heavy. He will just, jump on you. And where does the lion jump to attack you? Your throat. The jugular vein is there. He grabs there, tears it off, suck your blood. You're dead. So the lion has a better fighting technology than we human beings. And the lion attacks just the opponent, the enemy. When you throw your atomic bomb, it kills so many people that you never wanted to kill him. So the animals, their fighting spirit is very strategic, target oriented. Each time there is a war, so many innocent civilians are killed because the bomb does not make any selection. So the fighting is going on, and we think that we are very civilized, we are very advanced. And animals are better fighting, they're better technologically inclined and fight. And they don't need just something imbued in them, potential imbued in them. So some of the animals, they use their horns. I mean, I see these wild buffaloes. They kill even the lion. With what? Their horns. They just make like this and throw the lion. Make like this and throw the lion. And then they continue and kill the lion. Yeah. Lion only bites. There's no other technology. So the animals, they end up with potentials for fighting. So we should not be so proud of, our atomic bombs and, we invest so much of money, like in America, so much of money is allotted to defense. So, our Papa has mentioned that this idea of fighting and, okay, we want to eat in some restaurant, sophisticated restaurant, and we have to go to a skyscrapers to eat there. We pay so much of money to go there to, to eat. But you can just eat in your house and in the same, satiation you will have. But this, the mind tells us that, you have to go and spend, thousands of rupees in a hotel. Ooh, super. So our eating, in most cases, also will find that the non-devotees, they eat anything and everything. They eat non-veg. If you bought an airplane, even Indian Airlines, And even you're traveling in India in all these local aircrafts, local uh, airlines. You see, they're coming to serve food, and then it's like veg, not veg. Majority of the people, not veg, not veg, not veg. Um, it's a little bit challenging for the devotees to deal with this type of environment, this type of people, because the devotee knows that this is not healthy, but you can force people to follow your lifestyle, except they become convinced. And so this whole idea of running around to make money or going to school to, I know some of my friends, they have 3 PhDs. Yeah, they have 3 PhDs, but they're not happy with their lives. So no matter how much education you have, the void, if Krishna consciousness is a missing link in your life, you're just uh, you're just going to be miserable because you will place your your focus for happiness on objects that are not going to benefit you, that are going to give you some temporary happiness, and then you get so much misery afterwards. So the idea is that we understand that is eating, sleeping, mating, and fighting. It's available in all species of life, in all species. Now we endeavor so much in Kali Yuga, and it's so dominant. You know, there are so many social media platforms where you can just go and then, you know, engage in illicit sex connections. So if you're a devotee and someone attacks you with illicit sex connection and you say no, then you think, what? What? What are you talking about? I remember when I was in college. So my class was dominated by females. And so they came to meet me that he should be the cause rep. I said, no, I'm a dead body. I will not be a cause rep. Cause rep means the class representative, the one who coordinates, like the class monitor. He has to go and arrange for uh, the schedules, remind the professors when they have to come and all this stuff. I said, no. So, I mean, these ladies, they said, see, we are beautiful ladies, and we're coming to engage you in, and you refuse it. Why? I said, I don't want to be a leader. They said, why? What if you have to be the leader of your community, your town, or whatever? I said, if they see me, I said, if they see me. So, Prabhupada is talking about leaders being praised. Their leadership comes with leadership and terrible reactions are concomitant factors. The leader shares about 1/3 of the simple reactions of all of their dependents. So most of the leaders, they're ready for Patalaloka. So but they don't know. So I explain this to those ladies that, I don't want to lead, So, but then you see people are fighting, they're fighting to be in position of power. You may even have some sense of serenity, but you, especially political position. See, I know the case of New York. The past governor who was sacked, in fact, he nearly went to jail. They would have prosecuted him. He worked so hard. He's so powerful. And New York is full of sex energy. And people don't know how the environment impacts on our behavior, impacts on our consciousness. Professor Lawman developed the field theory in 1938. But people don't know. So you may have very good intention. You may be full of sobriety. But if you have to manage or be the governor of New York, it's very unlikely that you survive. I know also a case of uh, one attorney general in New York. He went to jail because the simple energies impact on us, whether we like it or not. So people fight to be in position of authorities. And look at how, just look the case of Donald Trump. He had he has right now 91 criminal charges, 2 federal cases, 2 state cases. So he may end up being in prison for the rest of his life. These are some of the implications of leadership. To accept a person is spiritually astute to be able to direct the, the dependents or the followers on the part of spiritual culture. But how many leaders are doing that? So that's why I said, the present day leaders, people who are in position of power, they'll get this. An open, they have an open ticket to the gateway of hell because the sinful reactions they get 1/6 of the simple reactions of every of their dependents. Everybody in the community, they get 1/6 of their simple reactions. It's there in one of Prabhupada's purport in the Bhagwatam. So, when people are engaged in sinful activities, they eat all type of nonsense. They're thinking about how to enjoy the senses. There's no question of censorship in terms of what they do. And this is very saddening, unfortunately. The purpose of life is to attain Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema Umato Maha. So how many people out there are pursuing the ultimate goal of life? People have different goals. But the ultimate goal of life is not in their blue books. And so this enables a situation of repeated birth and death as a recurrence. Because when we commit sinful activities, we don't find Yamadutas coming to police us. It's not like the criminal activities that the police in America. I mean, if someone drives in the wrong way, or they drive rough on the road, on the express road, and you observe this, and you call the police, 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, the police is there to arrest the person. Less than 5 minutes. But simple activities, no one is policing us. You can do it and go scot apparently go scot free because no one is policing us. But the record is there in Gupta's books. Maharaj Gupta takes the record of everything. And therefore, this temptation of eating whatever we want, engaging in unauthorized or illicit affairs, it could be very damning. And therefore, as young people, the future leaders of tomorrow, that's a slogan, the young shall grow. So don't just grow only professionally, grow also spiritually. Therefore, this idea of devotional culture being integrated in our lives becomes paramount. And It could be very challenging also. If someone tells you it's easy, they've not tried it. It's challenging. It requires a lot of sacrifice. And you have to curtail so much of your social conventional activities. I remember when I first encountered devotees and then got some books from them. I was reading and I started practicing at home, vegetarian life and everything. And my friends were mostly prosecutors and lawyers because I was working in the Department of Justice. And so we used to go out, practically, especially during the weekend in the nights. So I caught up. I caught up all those outings. And so I remember one of them, we met one time, and he said, "What's going on with you? You're not coming around anymore." I said, "I'm sorry, but I have some serious engagements." So spiritual life, if you want to uh, tread on a path with expedition in terms of progress, you have to curtail your social conventional involvement because that kills your time. If you want to maintain any of your social conventional involvements, the end point will be that I don't have the time to chant. I don't have the time to come to temple. But all of us have the time. And so we cannot afford to live a life in antithesis to the Vedic injunction. I repeat, we cannot afford to live our lives in antithesis to the Vedic injunction, especially young, brilliant Indian boys and girls. Because you're born in the land of Bharata. Bharata bhumi te hayalu manase janma yara. Jama satakika ka upaka. You have an obligation. What I'm doing now is you who's supposed to do it. That's what Chaitanya Charitamrita says. You're born here. You are born here because you have a lot of pious credit from past life. It's not everybody who is born in India. Have you heard about what people eat in North Korea? North Korea? Have you heard? They eat grasshoppers. I'm serious. You can Google and find out. North Korea, they eat all types of junks. Oh yeah, North Korea. See, I have first-hand evidence. So if you can't appreciate why you're born in India, why you are exposed to devotional culture, read about North Korea. What is going on in North Korea? Who would you like to take bet in North Korea? Who would you like to take bet in Iraq? So we have to understand that this privilege of taking bet in India and the privilege of even going to a higher institution, being exposed. Some of you are doing a PhD, some of you are finishing a PhD, some of you are doing a master's. Not everyone, even in India, not everyone has a master's degree. In fact, not everyone even has a first degree bachelor's. You see people, they're rickshaws, rickshaw wallahs. You think a rickshaw wallah has a master's degree? So why are you different? This is the mercy of the wheel of providence. So when we have blessings, we should take advantage of it and mold our lives in such a way that we don't descend to that level of hogs, dogs, camel, and asses. So the purport is very explicit. The camel is enjoying what he's chewing, but because his own blood is mixed with the grasses, with the tongues. And so if we try to enjoy material life without integrating devotional culture in our lives, we will be enjoying like the camel. And we get some terrible reactions each time we miscue. Each time we get a misdirection. Each time we tread on the wrong path. Each time we do the evil. Nobody's there to check us. Nobody's there. So we're blessed by the best with the exposure of a number of us to Krishna consciousness. And you are in school. And the colleges are like a slaughterhouse, like using the words of Prabhupada. Why? Because you get all types of sinful activities on college campus. I don't know the case in India. In America, you have drug peddlers, you have sex maniacs, you have sex workers, all in the name of students. That is the one night stand. You can just go and announce somewhere, I want a one night stand. And someone will come and say, I'm here. Oh yeah. One night stand? Huh? You know? So that's the type of life. I remember uh, we are having some programs at Columbia University. And at that time, one devotee was helping to help to coordinate. So there is one female student who seems to be interested in Prabhupada's books. But then she confided to this devotee that, I like your teachings, but I cannot give up sex. I like your teaching, but he said, I cannot give up sex. It means illicit sex. So some people have that type of energy that they can't follow the regulative principle. So if you're following the regulative principle and you think, why are you not following? It doesn't work like that. As our faces are not different, our priority sequence also varies. Our abilities and capabilities also vary. Our values vary. So we have to be in a position to support people who are having the intent to participate in Krishna consciousness, but being they are experiencing some weakness. Instead of going to say, oh, come on, you're like a dog, hog, and asses. It's so easy to imitate the words of Prabhupada, but we are not Prabhupada, okay? We should create good relationships. People are weak, we should encourage them, not to lash out to them. Let them know that we are superior to you. No. So a lot of people on the planet are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Population is replete with this caliber of people. So we have a lot of work to do. We have to create avenues where we can reach out to these people and help them to come to Krishna consciousness and revive their Krishna consciousness. Any comments? Last answer, 8 o'clock, right? Huh? It's not holiday for me because I have to do my duty service. Yes, any comments or questions? I don't have holiday. Yes. Ah, yeah. See, when I was in the early days when I used to go out for Sankirtan, you meet people who come to ask you help based on sex life. Or my girlfriend has run away, or my boyfriend has run away. How can you bring him back? Those days I used to be very upset when I encounter those type of people because I thought, oh, look, I dress differently. You should ask me what I'm doing. Now he's thinking I'm some magician, and then I should bring his or sense object of sense gratification to them. Yeah, so you sympathize first. You identify with their problem, sympathize with them, empathize with them, and I try to let them understand that they can revert the situation, they can actually make some improvement, and not really depend on external factors for enjoyment. Because the nature of the soul is sad, cheat, ananda. Ananda is there, bliss is there. And then we are looking for so-called bliss outside. We're not saying that people should not have sex, but they want to have sex, they should marry. And in America, you can't speak this type of philosophy. I remember one of my friends, is an Indian, original, born in India, Indian guy, a professor, a neuroscientist. So he told me a story how when he first came to India to do his master's, to America for his master's program, and then he was having all these American boys as friends. So then he was questioning them that about illicit sex. So they advised him that don't go and say this thing anywhere, okay? Because they will look at you as someone from the bush, because that is enough, okay? That is enough. Even little children, it's the language. Uh, do you have? I've seen 5 years old kid, and they're interviewing him on TV, and the interviewer is asking, "Do you have a boy? Do you have a girlfriend? Why introduce those type of?" So that is the culture. It's a sex culture, and not all Americans are into that mood. I've also met people. I remember I met one girl. She works for my friend, and beautiful, tall girl. She's a virgin. She's graduated from university. I said, "How did you make it?" Because that is very rare. At 16 years old, a girl in Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, the law permits you to have sex. 16 years old. So you can bring your boyfriend to your home and sleep with him. Okay. But when people grow up with this type of governing laws, they lost a sense of belonging because everything they see becomes they rationalize what I can get from this because they don't have spiritual culture. Now, I've also seen girls in America. I remember one lady, she was working for uh, my hepatologist, secretary to my hepatologist. So that's when I was having this liver problem. So I used to go to have, I used to have an appointment and visit. So this lady, one day she saw me. She said, "I see you with this dress all the time. Why? Can you explain?" I said, "Oh, I'm a priest. I'm a monk." I said, "What?" And she was asking about what do we do and what's our philosophy. So I told her the four regulatory principle so that she doesn't push it's too much for discussion. She said, "Oh, that's very good." She said, "I'm 30. My father is a priest. I mean, he owns a church. And he instructed all of us, his children, no illicit sex till you get married. If you want to have sex, you must get married." And she was 30 at that time. So it's so mesmerizing to see a beautiful lady in America, 30, and she hadn't had sex. So the culture is such that the illicit sex culture is permeating everywhere now. And so people are thinking that this is their right. It's not a right. It's just that It implicates us. We don't, in some cases, we are not introduced to higher values. I know even in India that some of the families are very strict with their children. So the point is, when you meet somebody who is afflicted by the sex impulse, you can really help them by, first of all, letting them understand that this is not the goal of life. There are people who don't have sex and they are happy with their life. But this is hard. Okay. This is not the ultimate goal of life. There are people that you know of, so many people who are very happy, jubilant, who are not having sex. And he will be shocked. You will be shocked. So then you have an opportunity to be able to preach for that, introduce Prabhupada's books, introduce the chanting. You want to be like those people, introduce the chanting. Because see, the point is, when people are having uh, some sex effects, negative sex effect, they don't normally, when the people they meet and they tell their problem, they just reinforce their problem. They tell them to how to go about relieving themselves from their problem by further illicit connections. So the devotee has had the opportunity to transform people. And when people have those type of challenges, you don't just drive them away, be friendly with them, and let them understand, first of all, that there are people on the planet who are very happy, big time professionals who are happy that they're not having sex. So sex does not necessarily give you the happiness that you're looking for. And those type of talks will stimulate what I inquired from the person. Because in most cases, the thing, if you don't, you can't be happy if you don't have sex. But sex does not really bring happiness. I mean, some people they think, oh, let me graduate quickly so that I can have as many girlfriends as possible. Then they have the girlfriends when they graduate. But then boom, this one becomes pregnant. Boom, this one becomes pregnant. And they're miserable. Okay? They're miserable. So the bottom line is that we have to let people understand there are people who are happy with their lives without sex. And then introduce them to a system, philosophy, chanting, where they can have a sense of control over over the urges, the pulls that are driving us crazy. Okay? Any other comments or questions? Yes. You have to be a little bit loud because the fans I can't hear you. Yeah. Uh, is by practice. If someone is coming to glorify some politician, what is that? And the musicians, they are very expert at that. They glorify, they make some album for the, make a track for praising the politician so they can get some money, get some donations from that person. They can get some support. And we don't want to descend. We should use our tongue in glorifying Lord Krishna. We don't want to descend to that platform. And therefore, when we discuss with somebody and then they bring in all this Graham guitar, we should be very expert at insinuating, change the topic. Change the topic. Oh, for me, I was a little bit rough, but for me, I'll tell you openly that. Can you please tell me something that will benefit me in my Krishna consciousness? And I do that to even my closest friends, when they bring about maybe criticizing some devotee or talking about something that is outside of Krishna consciousness. No, I mean, I just tell you. Especially if you have no use for that. See, I know so much about current affairs because of my type of service, my type of preaching. I know the problems so that I know how to provide the solutions from the Vedic perspective. But just to discuss about somebody glorifying them and all these things because they have plenty of money and they are because, you know, they are the whatever. So yeah, in general, if somebody wants to bring in topics unrelated to your spiritual upliftment, you can be very, you know, you can be very straightforward to let them understand that they should help you by bringing up, discussing things that will uplift your consciousness, and they will never try again. If you don't, they will watch themselves when they're talking with you. Yes, any other comments? Yes. Can you speak a little bit up, loud a little bit? There is a problem of meat eating. Oh, leave meat eating. Meat eating. Why do you have to leave meat eating? Like my friend, my friend said that he never eats chicken, but he can eat eggs. Okay. Yeah. People have this problem. The tongue, sevamuke, jivadu. The tongue is the most difficult to control. So someone may have even the good intention. They know the implications. They know the good aspect of taking vegetarian life, but they don't have the willpower to do it. Lack of willpower, and that is due to hridaya dubala, weakness of the heart. So we have people like that, and we should not be surprised when we encounter those type of people. What we can do is to encourage them to take prasadam. And when they become purified, they will give up those bad habits or to chant the holy names. And when they become purified to some degree, they will naturally give up those habits. This what? Catholic. It's an Catholic, okay. He says, get some so I okay. Tell him that there are some vegetables, some grains that the protein supply is higher than that from the animal. It's getting what? Getting yes. The price of things get things. What do you agree? I don't understand. What are you saying then, man? No, vegetarian food is all of the felt fruits and this is all over the place. Come on. Yes. Fruits and vegetables are also easily available every damn place. It's a good excuse, but it's not excusable. It's a good excuse, but it's not excusable. Listen, there's no protest something. Yeah, but then you tell him that you are a vegetarian, you're following this, so he can also do it. It's so see, we have see, one. Listen, we have many we have many devotees who are athletes. And huh? No. Practitioners, people who are practicing athletics, and they are practicing Krishna consciousness. We have people, devotees from all fields, all walks of life. Not necessarily living a profession. Devotee means that you can be in your home and be a devotee. You don't have to live a profession to go where? To do what? No. Live a profession to go where and to do what? Yeah. You are miscuing, you are misunderstanding, so you get confused and someone asks for help and you're not able to help. Because being a devotee doesn't mean that you have to leave your profession. See, when Dr. Chaitanya was touring South India, one Brahmin came to him and said he wants to follow Lord Chaitanya. He wants to abandon his family and follow Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, no, it's not required. You go and make your family a temple. Go and develop Krishna consciousness yourself and spread that to your family members. Make them devotees. Preach to your community members. So we're not saying that if you're interested in Krishna consciousness, you have to drop out from your studies. If you're interested in Krishna consciousness, you have to stop your work. No. It's not like that. Okay? It's not like that. You can do whatever you're doing and still practice. I remember, one of uh, my assistants in Washington, D.C., he served in the military. Okay? He was a major, so, top brass. But everybody else respected him because of his lifestyle. No intoxication. You can't talk about no intoxication in the military. It's against the law, but almost all of them broke it. So they see this guy as a role model. He doesn't eat meat. He's a devotee. He follows regulatory principles strictly. He's a young man at the PhD, 2 masters. I remember when the wife sent me the video when he was, uh, when they were giving him the major. So then the officer, the top brass, it's a it's a whole cartoon of soldiers. The officer, he asked in the hall, who amongst you here has a PhD? Nobody. Only this guy. So education, he has more than most of them. He's a major. So it makes his preaching so simple. He was teaching yoga in the cantonment. People come to him. He became like a guru. People come to him. So anywhere you are, you can really implant Krishna consciousness in people by your own standard, by your own example. By your living example, your values will impact on other people. So we don't advocate people giving up their duties, but we advocate people integrating devotional service in their professional development, in their career. If somebody, because there are also some people, I remember one boy in the US, he was doing a PhD in some science field in Ohio. And then each time he sees me, he keeps complaining. He thinks that if you're not doing a PhD in religion, then you cannot use it in devotional service. So I told him, no, we have scientists in our movement. We have people like Sadaputra who was developing a big project. I said, do your program. You don't need to leave it. So he finished his PhD, and then he went to an Ivy League, the University of Columbia, to do his postdoc. So going to do a postdoc means everybody was anticipating he wants to take up a professorship job. He finishes a postdoc and move into the ashram to be a brahmachari. So sometimes we are afraid you go too much in education, then you cannot become a devotee. I'm trying to be a devotee. I also have a higher education. So what? So my point is, whatever you're doing, you can always incorporate Krishna consciousness. Whether you're an athlete, you're a professor, you work for the government, whatever. you can always perform devotions. It does not separate you from your job. It does not separate you from your profession. So try to understand this and inculcate this into others who approach you and who are trying to run away from the reality that they can practice Krishna consciousness despite their profession. Okay. All right. I think, yes, you have a question? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, here is a very good point because sometimes we know that this should not be done, that should not be done, but we do it anyway, and we'll get implicated. We'll get implicated. So the Bhagwatam also mentions this, Pashyana Pina Pashat. Even after seeing, even after hearing, uh, don't do this, don't do that. We do it anyway and get implicated. So there are several factors that contribute to that. We say endogenous and exogenous factors, external factors, extrinsic factors, and factors within the organism, within the body, organismic factors. And the modes of nature, for instance, they are organismic and at the same time uh, external. Because the modes of nature operate from within, amazing. The modes of nature operate from within and from without. Okay, so we may have very good behavioral pattern, but then we get the modes of nature are vying for supremacy. They're fighting who takes charge, like politicians. They're fighting who takes charge. So you may be under the auspices of the mode of goodness, but the mode of passion or the mode of ignorance comes to conquer over goodness and takes away life. And then you start to mess up. And then people wonder, what's going on? That's one factor. Most of nature, they're vying for supremacy. They're fighting. Who takes control? The other factor is like Krishna, Arjuna asked Krishna a similar question. Then Krishna, his response was that Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguna, uh, Rajaguna, Samom, Mahasana, Mahasana, Mahapatma, Vidyanam, hereby. So the loss is also endogenous and exogenous. Operates from within and also impacts us from without. So we are more or less endangered species. We are endangered species. So we need the mercy. We need the mercy of Lord Krishna. We need the mercy of the devotees. We need the mercy of the spiritual master. On our own, we cannot fight this battle. We cannot fight this battle. We have to recline on the mercy of Krishna, on the mercy of the spiritual master, and on the mercy of the devotees. Especially on the mercy of the devotees. We tend to neglect. So if we have a strong bonding with devotees, that helps to solidify our determination to serve without any deviation. Now, if we have fractured relations with all devotees around us, we don't have the strength to even focus on our devotional culture. We're talking about love for Krishna, serving the spiritual master. But the more important, Lord Krishna also mentioned this in the Padma Purana, in his discussion with Arjuna. So we tend to neglect this. So what could be hurtful to devotees? We're digging our grave. And so we have to be mindful, conscious, consciously be aware the need to not think evil against any devotee, not even mentally to hurt the devotee. Because Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam really say Arjuna that when we do that, we get some reaction. Our devotional culture, our determination becomes wicked. So this is, and it's also mentioned how, how why Subari fell down? Subari, you know the story now? Subari morning. He offended Garuda. Subari Muni was not a staunch yogi, was meditating in the bed of the sea, thousands of years. Then he offended Garuda. He became weakened. He went out looking for sex. So we have to understand that offenses towards the devotees is a big checkmate to our spiritual progress, to our sustained devotion, to our sustained determination in Krishna consciousness. We have to be careful about that. And sometimes we neglect it, but this is how to sustain our progress. We stop hurting devotees. We stop criticizing devotees, even mentally, because we get some terrible reactions. Okay. We should see ourselves as one loving family and support each other. As soon as we begin to think, we only find the faults in the next devotee around us. We're into problem. We should look for the good and tap on that. This is where devotional life is challenged. Anybody can chant 128 rounds a day. Some people chant 128 rounds. I know some devotees in Mayapur, they chant 128 rounds. But chanting 128 rounds is very good. But that is not the main strategy to make progress in our devotion. You can even chant 64 rounds. We have to avoid being hurtful. Balance. We know why we don't eat meat. We don't want to be violent to even the animals. Now, according to the American Psychological Science Association, violence means hurting someone or a group. Each time we hurt someone, we have broken one of the principles, violence, no meat eating. We didn't physically eat meat, but we have broken that principle because it's rests on violence. The pivot is violence. So think about it. How many times we commit violence? And we're thinking, oh, I'm packed, I'm following the protocol principle. Powerful. So Krishna consciousness is very subtle, very intricate. That is very simple too. We can make it complex. The gross things anybody can do. Anybody can stop eating meat. Anybody can stop having, illicit affairs. There are the subtle things to deal with in our day-to-day Krishna consciousness development. Those are the challenge. For instance, violence. We commit violence most of the time. We hurt other devotees. Sometimes the closest person to you is the one who comes to hurt you. But do they go free? No. They get some feedback. So we have to be careful. Lovingly disposed, lovingly oriented will forestall violence. So the no meat eating has a big philosophy behind it. No meat eating means no violence. But violence is broadly defined by the American Psychological Science Association as even hurting somebody constitutes violence. And that's why the Sasas mentioned about Vaishnava Apara is part of the violence that that constitutes that Vaishnava Apara. So yeah, these are a few things that we have to take cognizance of. And sometimes we are not told these things in detail. We think that, or no meat eating. Wow, I'm following the regular principles. But when we hurt somebody, we are breaking that principle because psychologically you're breaking the principle. You hurt somebody. Yeah, you may not grossly go to eat meat, but you hurt somebody. You didn't hurt the animal. You didn't participate. You didn't contribute to hurting the animal by eating the meat. But here we are, we're hurting other people. So if we are hurting other people, it's also an ingrained behavior sometimes, and it's very difficult to deal with. We may resolve that. We may initiate the change. Huh? No, I'm not. I will stop this habit. I will stop hurting any devotee. We may initiate the change, but leading change is so hard, it's so daunting. Leading change on an individual level is so daunting. With 10 people who are smoking, and then New Year Eve, they decide no more smoking. After 3 weeks or 1 month, they go back to smoking. I've seen that. I've seen differently. So where we may decide, let me not hurt any devotees anymore. But again, we need the mercy of the devotees. We need the mercy of the spiritual master. We need the mercy of Krishna to be able to tread on that path of non-violence. But it checks our progress because it checks our progress. Okay? Yeah. Not me. Papa mentioned in one of his purposes. A parent takes also some of the reactions. The teacher also takes some of the reaction. I think I mentioned this type of things in one temple in Florida. In that community, they have a school too. And then after the class, one female teacher, she came to meet me that I want to resign from teaching. I said, no, don't resign. You see, you are a devotee, Krishna is protecting you, so don't resign. It's frightening, the injunctions in the scriptures. It's very frightening. Okay, you have a child. You don't know whether the child went to commit illicit sex or committed an abortion. But, you know, if your child, if say you have 3 kids and then each of them committed 2 abortions, the young mother charges you for murder. Human life is very challenging. It's just a complex situation. Yes, Maharaj, what I said. In the same way we have the good person, we also have the wicked person. Because if we look at the bad things of people, we may not even go outside to preach because we just shut our doors and say, to hell with all this people. So compassion is there. Compassion is there. It's like you have a child who is rascally. You don't throw the child out of the window. Hey, get out of my life. It's your child. So be responsible. Develop strategies. Implement those strategies that will help the child uh, to be free from the rascally behavior. So as preachers, a lot of things. Yeah, I remember when I was young, I went to one temple I stayed, I served in America. in New Jersey. So there was one Guru Puli. He was very sarcastic, gives very nice classes. That they said it was very offensive. I remember someone told me one lady in the community slapped him even in the open one day. Slapped him. He's a grown guy. He slapped him in the open. And when I went to that temple, some devotees preached to me not to associate with that guy. Because then they explained that he's like this, he's like this, he's like that. And I thought to myself, I'll live in this temple with this guy. How am I going to, check him from coming to me? So what I did was I adjusted my modus operandi and modus vivendi, my operational values. I adjusted my life to suit its purpose. Now, maladjustment is what causes most of the problems on the planet. People want everyone else to adjust themselves to fit our purpose. We don't want to adjust ourselves to fit anyone's purpose. So I can get along with even anybody. I can get along with anybody. And that boy became my best friend in the temple. They said that he's a real rugged guy. I remember one day he was taking me to the airport. I was going to a conference. I was putting on a suit. And then he looked at me and said, he was driving me to the airport. And then he said, Vasudeva, are you taking first class coach? I said, come on. I'm a poor brahmachari. Did you give me any money for first class? He said, the way you dress. You dress like as if you're going for first class. So that thing was very icky. Making a sacrifice at one priest. We are sitting down in the temple to John chant. And here is icking me. So I tolerated. But when I came back from the conference, that thing was still burning in my heart. The way he kicked me, the way he poked me. So I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to him for days. But then one day, he's a funny guy, and he knows also how to be funny and deal with people in terms of relationship. So one day, he looked at me and said, Vasudeva, so this conference you went, your professor friends told you that when you come back to the temple, you should not talk to me, right? He's a very intelligent guy, man, to deal with him was very difficult. So I said, no, I'm sorry. So I paid a business. So he paid a business. Then we hung, and then again we start talking with each other. So he has that type of quality of capable of poking you. And no matter how serene you are, he'll poke you and you'll be upset. Hey, do you stop dealing with such people? No. We have to adjust us. So he became my best friend in the temple. And later he got married and then he left the temple to another state and all. So yes, back to your question. We adjust ourselves to help people. Because if we have too much of expectation from people, I want you to behave like this, I want you to act like this, you don't act like that. I want you to respect me and you don't respect me. Do get out of here. It's difficult because we have our preachers are different, like the other problem mentioned, we are carrying different sanskaras from previous lives. So we may understand this is the best thing to do, and we are not able to. So don't throw us away. Yes. Yeah, by helping others, we have to get reinforcement all the time. Like the military, they go to the war front, they get depleted of ammunition. So they come back to reinforce, come to the programs, do your chanting early in the morning, and read Prabhupada's books. Listen to Prabhupada's lessons. Listen to your Guru Maharaj's lesson. This is how to get the reinforcement. So if we are not reading, we are not serving, we are not treating people nicely, we don't get sufficient reinforcement to move on. Otherwise, we get depleted. Yeah. The spiritual life is like a warfare. It's a spiritual warfare. You get depleted. when you are using your energies in the service of the Lord. And so you get reinforcement. That's why we chant early in the morning before we go out to school, go out to work. That is the process of spiritual reinforcement. Okay? To the Prabhupada ki. To my Bhagwatam ki. Hmm. So I believe in tomorrow, hopefully.